So, hamjambo nyote. Greetings to you all. Karibu tena kwa somo letu la Swahili. Welcome again to our Swahili study. Leo tutazingatia au tutasoma kuhusu nchi na uraia. We'll be studying about country and citizenship. Nchi na uraia. So I'll be looking at that, country and citizenship. The names of those countries in Swahili and the names of citizens of such countries in Swahili. So, but before we do that, we'll be doing a bit of review on our previous class, and we'll ensure that we share some more of what we learned throughout the week. So thank you very much.
Papa.
Say hi.
Hi.
Habari.
Hello.
Okay, be good. So we will be doing much of a review of the lessons I sent throughout the week, so that we can check on what was a bit bringing issues, or we can learn from that. Then we go to our lesson for today. So I see Sister Portia has posted in the chat one of the lessons we did on day 3, which is ushirikiano katika kujifunza. As usual, what I'll ask first is you two to read first, then I can be able to read and correct some few things. So who can go first to read it on the chat as it is? But I can also open the book because I have the book on it. Let me just open the book. Karibu sana ndugu Coco. Welcome brother Coco. Making noise.
The divide and rule is very, very strong.
Yeah, I see also brother Glero is joining us. Brother Glero and brother Coco, once you join us, feel most welcome. So I've gone to my reading guide on what I'd sent throughout the week for our reading. And Sister Portia had pointed that we review the reading 3. So we will be, as I've said today, we are learning about countries and citizenship, uraia na nchi. But before we do that, we want to review one of the readings that I shared throughout the week on day 3 and learn on some few things that either went or some question that anybody have to ask. So as usual, I'll ask one of us to read for us the Swahili passage of day 3. Then I can be able to correct some few things. If somebody has some few issues they want to learn from that, we can do that. Then we just go to our study for today. We'll not review the 3 of them. But I've said that I've increased the volume of the word so that we move a bit from learning a sentence to at least learning a paragraph, reading a paragraph, then probably can read a page. That's how we are progressing with the reading. So asanteni tena and karibuni sana. So who is reading for us this passage so that we can point out some few things?
I'll go.
Okay, Sister Myra.
Kujifunza pamoja. No. Day 3. Ushirikiano katika kujifunza, or collaboration in learning. Kujifunza pamoja na wengine ni njia bora ya kuelewa. Ushirikiano unaruhusu wanafunzi kubadilishana mawazo na kusaidiana. Kwa mfano, wanafunzi wanaojadiliana katika vikundi hupata mitazamo mipya. Mwalimu anaweza kuongoza, lakini ushirikiano unawapa wanafunzi nafasi ya kufundishana. Hii inawasaidia kukuza ujuzi wa mawasiliano na kufanya kazi kwa pamoja. Ili kufanikisha ushirikiano, sikiliza wenzako na uthamini maoni yao. Ushirikiano ni kama daraja linalounganisha akili za watu wengi.
Wow, you've done perfectly well. You've done well, sister. Sister Portia, can you read for us the same text?
Asante. Siku ya tatu. Ushirikiano katika kujifunza. Kujifunza pamoja na wengine ni njia bora ya kuelewa. Ushirikiano unaruhusu wanafunzi kubadilishana mawazo na kusaidiana. Kwa mfano, wanafunzi wanaojadiliana katika vikundi hupata mitazamo mipya. Mwalimu anaweza kuongoza, lakini ushirikiano unawapa wanafunzi nafasi ya kufundishana. Hii inawasaidia kukuza ujuzi wa mawasiliano na kufanya kazi kwa pamoja. Ili kufanikisha ushirikiano, sikiliza wenzako na uthamini maoni yao. Ushirikiano ni kama daraja linalounganisha akili za watu wengi. Asante.
That's great. Thank you, Sister Portia. Any other person who would like to try the reading? Last person? Any other last person who would like to try that reading? Now that text, so that I can maybe take in any comment or any question in regard to the text. Brother Coco?
Okay. Greetings, comrades. Ushirikiano katika kujifunza. Kujifunza pamoja na wengine ni njia bora ya kuelewa. Ushirikiano unaruhusu wanafunzi kubadilishana mawazo na kusaidiana. Kwa mfano, wanafunzi wanaojadiliana katika vikundi kupata mitazamo mipya. Mwalimu anaweza kuongoza, lakini ushirikiano unawapa wanafunzi nafasi ya kufundishana. Hii inawasaidia kukuza ujuzi wa mawasiliano na kufanya kazi kwa pamoja. Ili kufanikisha ushirikiano, shirikisha wenzako na uthamini maoni yao. Ushirikiano ni kama daraja linalounganisha akili za watu wengi.
Wow, wonderful. You've all done very good in terms of the reading. Is there anyone that might need or any question regarding that challenge that I can take in and maybe explain a bit so that we go to our reading, our lesson today? But you've all done well in terms of the reading. If there's any question or anything that needs maybe some of the guidance, I can be able to do so. So anybody who has anything in regards to that takes along.
The word sikiliza, it confused me because I thought if it starts with SI, then it is negative. Or is that the verb?
It is a verb.
Which is sikiliza, which means to listen.
Yeah, it's a verb. Listen.
Oh, okay.
It's a verb.
Okay. Thank you.
Now remember where we had mitazamo mipya. I think that sentence will be mitazamo mipya.
Yes.
Now you see in singular, the word is mtazamo without an I.
Ah, okay, yeah.
Mtazamo. Now when it is in plural, you put an I, it comes me. And then the next word, the next adjective actually speaks to it. That's why it is a me. So it's mitazamo mipya instead of mipya. So there's a me I, mipya. So the I there in the second word, here mipya, is actually following the noun class mitazamo. Therefore becoming mipya.
Okay.
Yes. Any other concern?
What is the singular of maoni?
It doesn't have a singular or plural. It remains the same in both singular and plural.
And it means
Because
yes.
opinion. It's like opinion.
Opinions. Okay.
In English, of course, we have it like more of like opinions. But in Swahili, it's a maoni and it remains maoni. You can say maoni yangu, my opinion, maoni yetu, our opinion. But still remains maoni. So yangu is mine, yetu is ours, but it remains maoni. So it doesn't change both in singular and in plural.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome. Any other concerns from the same text? Okay, if there's no any other concern, then let's go to our study for today. And as I've said today, we are going to look at country and citizenship. Countries are nchi. Let me share the screen. You can see my screen?
Ndio.
Now, we have country, it's called nchi. Then we have citizenship from different countries, which is called uraia, nationality. It's called uraia. So I'll ask you, wewe ni raia wa wapi? If I say raia, not u, I'll ask you, you are a citizen of which country? So the word is raia. When I say uraia, it's nationality. Well, raia is like asking you citizen. So you are citizen of which country? Wewe ni raia wa nchi gani? Now, nchi, as you learn, is the country. So Swahili also have names on how they call countries and different countries. But these are the three common scenarios. The first scenario is that you put a prefix you, which in Swahili is u. You can put a prefix you before the name of the country, which becomes the prefix. Also, sometimes we end up with a suffix I, where there's countries with the names ending with Y. For example, let me take my screen and let me do something. Now you see countries with the name ending with Y, for example, Germany. The NY will replace that Y with I. So we put a prefix U, and replace a Y with I. In most of some other countries that end with NY. Now, we also have countries that doesn't change in terms of their names. How they are in English remains the same. But how we pronounce some of their words, if they are vowels, we pronounce them in Swahili style. But there are countries which change completely. Completely. So those are the scenarios of the countries on how Swahili make names for some countries. And what we'll be doing is just reading the countries of the earth. Then we can ask questions once we are done with reading them. Then we can explain a bit because they are straight as they are here in the text, in the chat, they're very straight. But we read them, then we can come and discuss any of them and how do they change. Hope that is right. So we'll read in turn. They're not able to read, just let me know. So, but we read continuously. So the first person will read the first name, Marekani or Americani, second person, the other name like that until we finish all of it. So once we are at the last person will be Sawilo. We go back to the first person with Brother Jerry. The second person will be Brother Coco. The third person will be Sister Myra. The fourth person will be Sister Portia. The fifth person will be Sawilo. Then you go back to the first person. So we are reading 5 countries back to the first person and the 5 countries. So we also do like that. So Vera reads America, Brother Coco reads England, Sister Myra reads Middle East, Sister Portia reads Egypt, Sawilo reads China, and Brother Kwame come again to read Italy, like that, until we finish the channel, you can come back and read it in regard to that. Hope that is very clear. So let's start this then from Brother Glory. If you cannot be able to speak, let me know. And okay, Sawilo is in a nice place. So
No,
we'll be
okay.
ending with the Sister Portia.
Yeah. Marikani.
Mare. What's Mare?
Marekani. Oh, sorry. Read all of them?
Read only one. You
Okay,
read only one.
Marekani. Okay.
Uingereza.
Sister Mara, it's your turn. Then Sister Portia.
Oh, sorry. Mashariki ya Kati.
Misri.
Mystery. Mystery.
Misri.
Uchina.
Italia. Italiano.
Uswidi.
Uswisi.
Ufaransa. Ufaransa.
Uhispania. Uhispaniola.
Ureno.
Ujapani.
Ujerumani. Ujerumani.
Elder Glenn, it's Ujerumani. Ujeruma.
Ujeruma.
It's
Have you moved
Ujerumani.
it up?
Ujerumani. Ujerumani.
Okay. You moved it up, yeah? Ujerumani. Ujerumani.
Uturuki.
Somalia. Usomali.
Urusi. Urusi.
Uguruki. Ugiruki.
Ugiriki.
Uduruki.
Elder Glenn is Ugi.
Uguruki.
Not Gu. Ugi. Ugi. Ugiriki.
Ugiruki.
Riki, not Ru. You're bringing a Ru. But it's a Ri.
Uguriki.
Yes, Ugiriki. Okay.
Uyahudi. Israeli. Israeli. Israeli or Israeli?
It needs as many names as possible to hide it.
Uholanzi.
Ubelgiji.
India.
Korea.
Kenya.
Tanzania.
Uganda.
Msumbiji.
Ushelisheli.
Udachi.
Bukini.
Congo.
Serikali ya Demokrasia ya Kongo.
Ulaya. Europa.
Oh, sorry, you've moved it up too far. Umfini, Finland.
Uajemi.
Palestina.
Uyanani.
Uyoru.
Wait. The word that Sister Portia has read is Uyanani. Yes, Uyunani. Uyunani. You must realize that the word Uyunani is describing the people who are there. The same way with Israel, which is Uyahudi, which are Jews, or the Jews, to describe the Palestinians. So it
Is
is
the
Uyu.
pronunciation all right?
Yeah,
may
no,
you
you
repeat the
say Uya.
pronunciation, brother?
The pronunciation is Uyu, Uyunani.
Oh, pardon. Uyunani.
Uyuru. Dani.
Uhabashi.
Norei.
Mexico.
Canada.
Israeli.
Lesotho.
Afrika ya Kusini, Afrika Kusini.
Poland,
Ukraine,
Romania,
Iraq,
Burundi,
Now, in Iraq, you realize that sometimes you use the word Iraq of K, not of Q. Iraq of K. That is okay. Go ahead.
Burundi.
Oh, is
Oh,
that you? Is that
yeah.
Burundi? Okay.
You are the next one.
Rwanda,
Botswana,
Malawi,
Nigeria,
Senegal,
That's it. So down here, what you have is just basically when you want to ask a question, you ask somebody, where are you coming from? Unatoka nchi gani? So unatoka nchi gani? So where are you coming from? And the person now will answer with those names of the country. For example, here somebody asks the question, where unatoka nchi gani? Then you say mimi ninatoka nchi ya Marekani. So you say natoka Tanzania. So you say natoka Kenya. Basically, you are coming from. If I ask you natoka nchi gani, you tell me natoka Ujerumani, natoka Uholanzi, natoka, all those names. So those are the names of some of the countries in Swahili. But as I've said, some of them take a prefix U. You see all the UU we have. I don't know which formula did they use to decide which takes U, but that's how it is in Swahili. So all we have U. Now, for example, France. So we say Ufaransa, Faransa. Sweden we say Uswizi. So the U come in Uswidi, Uswizi, Uchina, Ureno, Ujapani. Those are U. Ujerumani, the one ending with Y. So those are some of the few rules that you have here. But yes, I'm now free to take any concern, any questions so that we can learn more on this. Elder Glenn?
Why all the question on the continent, as you say, just transfer as they are, and clearly some are all names out of the Berlin Conference. Have I missed any? I think it's all
No,
the local name is transferred, Tanzania, Uganda, and so on. I mean, clearly there are others like Ukraine is the same. There are a number of ones that stay the same, Israel, and so on. But all the ones appear on the continent retain their given name, if you like. Burkina, let me see, Ivory Coast. Does that have a? Is it the Ivory Coast? Because you know that Upper Volta and all that nonsense.
one thing you must realize, and I think this is also the impact of, you see, the element of countries were not there in the original Swahili setup. Because when Swahili was coming in as a language, countries had not existed that much. To an extent of saying that this is country A, this country B, this country C, you see? We didn't have countries. So when countries come in after Swahili is existing, now Swahili is trying now to take in the names of those countries, which is like a new thing being introduced in a language as the language is growing. So you end up that we actually miss a lot of the names. And the names remains the same, and I don't know why, but that's what is coming in, because now they are not able to translate a new, because now they could not even be able to understand what is the meaning of that name Tanzania in the first place, so that they could create a Swahili version of it. You see?
Especially
so
seeing
that,
as it was Tanganyika, and Palestine before 1948 is an interesting historical statement. I'd never heard the name before. Uyani, Nani.
No, Uyunani is the name of those people in the name of the people stayed in Palestine.
but Palestine before 1948
now you see, it's also it's derived from, it's a Swahili word, but it's also borrowed from Arabic. You see, the people who stayed there, especially the Arabs, and it means Greek. It's more of meaning like Greek people, not Greek, Greek. And they also described more of the Persians. The Persians who are staying in that area, because they realize that it's more of like the Persians in that area. So it's describing the name of the persons who are staying in that area. So it's coming from a Greek word, and either mean the Greek were there or the Arabic Persians were there. So you see, that's what they think before 1945. Because now, when that 1948 comes in, now there's a total change in terms of those who stayed there. But you see, Swahili is trying to describe the countries based on the people who stay there. You see? Now, when you come to most of African countries, now you could not be able even to describe that country because it was a mix of people. Now you wonder, they are calling it now Tanzania. So how do you want to translate that in Swahili? And this Tanzania doesn't mean any personalities of people in the continent, apart from Ethiopia, because Ethiopia existed before. So you see, that's why Swahili could have a name of Ethiopia, because Ethiopia existed even before those other countries existed.
And Egypt, Misri.
And Egypt, yes. And that's why you see Egypt is also very clear in Swahili, because they existed before the so-called countries existed. Now, when these countries were existing now, it was very hard for Swahili to create a new name out of it, because the names are not given based on any fundamental origin of persons or people. So it was very hard for you even to describe those people, to give them a name of a country. Like you see, the Egypt is actually, the word Hebeshi is referred to Habesha people. And those are people who are found in Abyssinia, you see. So countries in Swahili basically describe people who stay there, like Uswizi. We know, if you come to the nationality, you will realize they are called Waswizi or Mswizi. So they are Swedes or the Swiss people. That's how you could describe them. But most of other names here, realize that it was very hard for you now to describe them. So Swahili actually call name based on the description of people who stay there. Kiswahili tend to be more descriptive in terms of its wording. That's why you see Uganda, we call it Uganda, but now we don't pronounce the U as we pronounce in the English. We just say Uganda instead of Uganda. Now you see, we are also calling Russia, because these are old also territory that existed, Urusi. But you realize Urusi comes from the people Russian, because you can say Russia belongs to Russian, so you can describe that country to those people. You see, so that's like Uturuki, Turkey, or the Turks, so we call them Waturuki or Mturuki. So we call it Uturuki. So that's why there is a big issue with the countries in the continent assuming different names, because those names came after the language was existing, and the language could not find a fundamental way on how they could describe those countries and give them a name. Hope that's better. Any other concern on the names of the countries? Not all here, but I'll try to look for a list of all African countries, and then I might share that in our WhatsApp group for all African countries. For that case, all of them. I'll try to find that and then share the list of all of them in our chat or in our WhatsApp group. So you see Ulaya, we call it Ulaya, Europe, Ulaya. And you see the word Ulaya has been used several times to mean abroad. It's not even Europe. In many contexts of Swahili, when somebody says naenda Ulaya, people know you're going abroad. So people cannot even know that you're only going in Europe. So they know that everything out there is abroad, and that abroad is Ulaya. But actually, that Ulaya in Swahili only refers to a small section of stuff. Now, if you see the name of Israel, it's called, check the name of Israel, is actually a description of the people. the Jews, Wayahudi. It's the name of the people. Those who are staying there, Wayahudi. They are calling them the Wayahudi thing.
Wayahudi.
Wayahudi. So you have the name Uyahudi.
King brother, would there be a record in the Kiswahili language of calling Ghana the Gold Coast rather than Ghana, for example?
I don't think so. I don't think so. Let me just check. But I don't think they will be. It won't be called that name. It remains Ghana. So most of African names, that's what I say, most African names remain they are, because we cannot actually understand why they came to be called Ghana in Swahili. So it's not referring to a group of people. It's very hard for Swahili to trace some good rootings of that so that it can give it a translation. Because you see, as I've said, even the word Ghana does not describe Gold Coast. You see, when they call it Gold Coast, it was meaning a coast where there's gold or something like that. But now, when you call it Ghana, they cannot even substantiate it. So Swahili find it very hard even to now describe that country. So it's just retain the name as it is.
King brother, then are you saying that there, to your knowledge, there's not a linguistic footstep of why some countries kept their original descriptive names in Kiswahilis and others did not?
No, it's the Swahili deciding, not the countries deciding. So Swahili developed before the countries came in. Now, when countries came in some places that the Swahili could not be able to understand or describe that name that was given to that country, it became very hard for them to actually give it a name in Swahili. So they will end up retaining the English name. Because they can, for example, Somali is Somalia. And you have a community from Somalia who are called Somali. And I think we will try this if I'll be looking at now the nationalities. That will really help us to understand the knowledge behind this. Now, if you look at nationalities, for example, let's go at Somali, call Somali. Basically, is that, as I'm trying to say again, where Swahili could not find that the names of those countries could be descriptive to describe persons or people, it was very hard for Swahili to come up with a new name to call those countries. Like you see, even South Africa, it's not even a country in Swahili, it's a direction. The name South Africa is Africa ya Kusini. It's a south part of Africa. It's not a country, as per se to call it a country called South Africa. But Swahili describe it as the direction of the continent, because the Kusini is south. So it's a south part of Africa. So it becomes very hard for them even to draw now when these people call it South Africa. So how do you describe that? Because it's a mix. And I think that's the problem that colonialism also did, because it was a mix of people brought together. And then that formed now a country. So it was very hard to have specific. Like you see, in most of the countries, like in the West, most of the countries are either majority belong to that community. So the Swiss or the rest. And if you see, for example, the Rwanda, the name will be Wanyarwanda. But that will now be Rwanda. That will be describing the community. Let me check for you, you see. So it's described like this one, Rwanda. So when you see this word Rwanda, where it is here, where I'm trying to point my arrow, there's a community called Wanyarwanda. And I also asked myself, did that community existed as Wanyarwanda before the country Rwanda was created? So does it mean that they just followed the name of the community to give a country, unlike what they did to other countries in the continent? And if they did so, then how did they decide that the majority in that country could be called Wanyarwanda? Because you see, there's no single community called Nyarwanda. There are Tutsis and Hutus. But now when they created a country called Rwanda, they decided to call themselves Wanyarwanda or Warwanda, as people belonging to that territory called Rwanda. Same thing happens to Burundi. There's also mix of communities in Burundi. There is no single community called Burundi. There are some of the Tutsi also and Hutus who crossed over to Burundi because they were like one country. But when now the name was given, now they call themselves for Burundi. You see? And you see, even Tanzania, they call themselves for Tanzania. But realize they have over 150 something ethnic groups in the same position. So I think what brought confusion in terms of Swahili trying to translate this was that the formula that was used by colonialism was not something they could easily analyze and base any descriptive in it so that they could give it a Swahili description for those people or for that country.
I guess what's confusing, and this to me is part of the beauty of how you teach, because you're not just teaching us words, you're giving us context. But I thought Kiswahili came before colonialism.
Yes.
So it existed before, and these territories existed before. So surely there must have been a descriptiveness because of the root of Tanzania, pardon me.
Now, you see, before colonialism came, Swahili could describe the names of tribes. For example, Wagikuyu, Wajaluo, Waluya, Waganda, Wanyore. So we could describe ethnic groups. And we could give them names of ethnic groupings. But when now colonialism comes later, now to create a territory called a country, which never existed before they came in. Because those that existed were either kingdoms or anything else of that sort, but they were communities. So you could try to describe the communities. And you describe the community based on the name they were given. Because you see, Swahili was not also naming communities. Communities also existed with their names. So you could describe those areas based on the community. You could only describe the community rather than a territory. But now when English comes later now to put a territory in that community, it becomes hard for you to describe that. Because, for example, the so-called Rwanda had the Tutsis and Hutus. How could you describe that territory? There was a territory that was controlled by the Hutus, and there was a territory controlled by the Tutsis. Or there were a community called Tutsis and a community called Hutus. Now, when a name comes later to be called Rwanda, and the language is already developing and growing, in fact, colonialism comes after so many years. Because you see, Swahili developed an early stages when Arabs got into contact with Africa, which Arab and Arabanization of Africa took place almost 600 years before even colonialism and the whites came in. So it was very hard now to describe a mixed communities brought together under new territory that never existed before. So that's why Swahili might miss the description of those territories in Swahili because they never existed before. Territories were based on communities. And now when a country comes in, there's a new concept totally. So it becomes very hard even for you to create that. But in some places, they could try to create. For example, the England and the thing, you see you have Marekani and you have England. We have also they came in later when Swahili was developing. But at least they could describe a certain linguistic community. For example, we have community called the Germans. Either they speak German language and the rest. So you see, they have a language. So Swahili describe them as a Jerumani based on their language. Or Faransa based on French language. Urusi, because they are Russians who speak their Russian language. Uchina, because they're Chinese who speak Chinese language. But now Kenya, are there Kenyans who speak Kenya language? Are there Rwandans who speak Rwanda language? So you see, that's where the language goes, they mix up a bit. And that's why in places where countries could be borrowed from names of persons, which I think white men also did intentionally, because in their countries, they call themselves with the names of their person. The Sweden, the Swiss, the Irish, and the rest. They created their tribes to be countries, or their nations to be countries. But in Africa, they never created tribes or nations to be countries. They decided to create a new boundary, Because then you could have country like Gikuyu or Kikuyu country or such sort. That they didn't do it here as they did in their own territory. So I'm trying just to think, how did this now language try to adapt to this new thing that was coming in? But anybody is free to share their thoughts on that. Anybody want to share anything on that?
Yeah.
Now you see, like even how we describe African. If you look up there in the second chart here, we have Mwafrika. If you can see me somewhere here, Mwafrika. But you see now, the word Mwafrika is coming from what? From a name now created called Africa. Because it means before that creation of the name Africa, there was nothing like Africa. In the traditional text, the traditional language of many communities in Africa, there was nothing like Africa. Now when English now create a name Africa, Swahili now try to adapt to give that name to people. And that's why Swahili decided just to, actually, if you look at it, Swahili only changed the C to a K. And retain it as Africa, but with a K. Because then it was also very hard to describe now that territory to a new name in Swahili. Because there's not even a fundamental basis or etymology that we could use to root how Africa came to be called Africa. Of course, we've been having context and discussion, whether it was Al-Kabun, whether it was Abyssinia, whether it was Kemet or Thebes. But you see now, when somebody will create a new name called Africa, now language found it very hard, because the process of coming up with the language, as I've told you, Swahili becomes more descriptive. And if you were to describe people in Africa, they are black majority. So you could not call them African. Swahili will have a name black, which is different. But Swahili now I had to call a name that is equivalent to what white man creates as Africa. So that's also what you are witnessing here. The same could happen to, let me check another country here. So you see the word mystery. I don't know how it came to be. Brother Coco, do you have any history of this word mystery?
For which one, brother?
Mystery for Egypt.
No, I don't have where
Because you
it's
see,
coming from.
in the translation of the Bible, in the Bible context, Egypt is described as mystery. And probably I may try to change the etymology on how we heard the word mystery. But it's been used a lot of time, the word mystery, in most of even Bible texts.
I hadn't done any research on it, found out where mystery came from.
Okay. So, but so if you are describing a person of a country, use the M before the name of country. So where there's country having the name UUUU, like Uholanzi, or even Kenya, any name of the country, when you want to describe a person, you use the M to replace the first word with the M, or you introduce M before the first word. Where the country don't change, for example, Kenya, you make an M before it. So you call yourself Mkenya. So Mkenya is somebody from Kenya. Mtanzania is somebody from Tanzania. Mgriki is somebody from Greece. Murusi is somebody from Russia. Muganda is somebody from Uganda. But you see, also Sister Myra is with us here. Here is the word Baganda. Sister Myra, did they pick the word Uganda from the word Baganda? Or how did they arrive at the name Uganda? If you can know something about it.
Unfortunately, it was my nation that sold out to the invaders. We were the chief administrators, the chief. Yes, so that is how it came to be. They just
So
because we were well organized. We had institutes, we had a kingdom, we had an army, and so we are the one to be conquered and colonized mentally, and that's how it is till today. Hence Uganda, but there were other kingdoms as well.
So they picked the name Uganda from the Baganda kingdom.
Yes.
Okay. So this is becoming a unique name here. So these are how you call the names of the country and the person. Now, when you use an M, That's a singular person. So you're referring to one person. Now, when you want to refer to people from, you use a WA. So it's become wa. So where we have, for example, let me do my chart here. For example, where we have Ethiopia, which is Muhabeshi. In fact, it's Muhabashi. Now you'll call it wa, Habashi. So you replace an M with the WA. That's in the noun class, our, the first noun class of Swahili. Now where you have, for example, Canada, it becomes wa Canada. That's plural. So those are people form. But one person is become a Canada. I think Namibia will remain the same. Sorry, Doc. I believe Namibia will remain the same. Unless, let me just check, but unless it had that name meaning any language or any community.
But during colonial time, was it not called Southwest Africa?
But now you see that's also direction.
Yeah, I know, I agree. It was the most unimaginative naming of a country I've ever heard.
Yeah, so it's the same. So
Yeah.
it remains Namibia
Mm.
in Swahili as well. It remains the same because, and I think it's a very important point that we are coming across here on even during the colonialism, the biasness, and it was not the biasness, the intention to divide the continent totally. Because as we are looking here, these countries, their countries, so-called countries, were actually an elevation of tribes. So each of the tribes called themselves, for example, German, Russian, French. So they decided to create their countries, which means some people don't use the word tribe, they use the word nation to describe a tribe. So each nation, which in this context you can say, each tribe was actually given a country. But when they came to Africa, they ensured that they amalgamated countries. They amalgamated, like they combined tribes to form a country. And you may actually understand why they did that. It was not by
To
mistake.
confuse. King brother,
It was not
pardon
by
me.
mistake.
This is good point you're making, King brother. This is why I say what you're doing is not just telling us the language, you're teaching us the context. So even in these words here, you can see the colonialism, as you call it, the intent to confuse us. It's really horrible, really.
You realize that if they came to the continent, the tribes were existing. They had names. So it's not that the white man introduced the Luos or introduced the Kikuyus or introduced the Kalenjin. No, those were names that were original to us. And they found those tribes. Why did they not then form countries based on those tribes the same way their countries were based on their tribes? And the other is that automatic, that the intention was to merge people together. And even they could go even extra mile maybe to have the boundaries of their one ethnic group into one territory, if that's what they wanted. But we get that the intention was very clear. So from the Swahili element, we realize that Swahili gives name descriptively of the people there. And even English have names of their country to describe the ethnics or the tribe that exists in their country. But in Africa, no name probably describes the people in any of the countries. Is a Congo, is a Namibia, is a Kenya, is a Rwanda, and you wonder who are those called Rwanda or called Kenya or called Burundi. But that, I think, is the lesson for us for today. So any comments before we bring this to an end?
Just to add that, just to add what has just been said about the confusion, while they kept their kingdoms as they do in England, and so they have a continuity, they mixed us up and then they destroyed the power on kingdoms. Just wanted to add that. Thank you.
That's correct, and also that whilst it could have been done with various nations known, for example, Zulu nation, could the area that the Zulu were occupied in during the colonial invasion could still have been described or called Zulu land or whatever the local people wanted to call it.
Yeah.
It was deliberately omitted in order to create that confusion.
Yeah, and the insidiousness of
It
sorry.
wasn't omitted, brother. It wasn't
Okay.
omitted. So the Zulus were defeated by the English, and the English
Yeah.
occupied their country. And
Yeah.
in the end, they integrated it into South Africa as
Yeah.
part of the Natal province, which they occupied. And even Durban has a Zulu name, which is eThekwini.
Yeah.
But
was there not area now known as Zimbabwe that the Zulu nation occupied?
No, those are the Ndebele. The Ndebele, yes, they broke away from the Zulus in KwaZulu Natal. But just the same way as the Shangans in Mozambique broke away from Zululand, or the Ngonis in Zambia and Tanzania also ran away from Shaka in KwaZulu Natal and established themselves further north.
Yeah.
So the Ndebele is the same. Mziligas was running away from Shaka when he.
But why wasn't there in the Bali and other nation that broke away, which the English knew about during colonial time, could have created, or a country geographically could have been identified? You know, you got
it's still
Scotland
there.
and Wales.
Their country is still there, but it has been subsumed into Zimbabwe. That's what they have done. Matebele land is called Matebele land. And Mashona land is the area where the Shonas are, as in Sister Tapua's people. But they have all been taken over and formed into this Berlin Conference conglomerates or partitions. Just like I said, the Giza Empire was a huge empire in Mozambique. But after the founder, Sushangan, passed away, his descendants were defeated by the Portuguese, and the Portuguese then later on claimed Mozambique. That's why we don't know about the Shangans anymore. We don't hear about, we still hear about the Zulus, but what they have done was to basically neutralize them. Just like they started with the Xhosas first. After 8 years, no, eight wars, not 8 years, 8 wars that they fought against the Xhosas. That's why you don't hear about the Xhosas. But what happened?
Yeah, but the English fought the Welsh. They fought the Scottish.
Yeah,
they fought the Irish, and we still have an island, or we still have Wales. We still have Scotland. You know, it's not all England. If the conquest was the reason for erasing a country.
I agree, but it's a story for another time, which should be longer, because we can argue Swaziland is the same. Swaziland was helping them, so they sort of kept Swaziland. They kept Lesotho as well, right? And they kept Botswana. But what happened is they wanted the land in which these other nations set on, including where Zululand is. It was plantations where they brought in migrant labor from India and used them to farm the English plantations that were there and produce sugar. Hence, why you don't even hear about, you don't see it on the map, because it became part of the Natal province.
They're cash
So
crops.
Yes.
yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Brother Coco, thank you. I think Sawindo has something to say. But what you're saying is that we are trying now to read here. And that's why I love Swahili, because Swahili try to describe. So Swahili could give them a descriptive language. So you could describe something where it does not have a specific anything. You could try to describe. And when it was unable to describe the names that white men gave to our countries, it became very hard for them to pretend with any name, just to blanket any name there in the name of that country. And as you're saying, is very important because when they found the Baganda people, instead of calling that territory Baganda, they tried to call it Uganda. And they found a Baganda kingdom.
But,
So you see,
don't forget what Sister Mara said. That
yes,
area is full of lots and lots of kingdoms, but they've
yes,
taken just one kingdom
The
and
one
put it
that
over
yes,
all the others. Yeah, the
Yeah.
yeah,
one
I
that
know
sold out. Yeah.
yeah, there was Bunyoro Kitara kingdom, but the biggest kingdom was Baganda kingdom.
Yeah.
And what they did is that I think maybe the white man was thinking that if they give us names based on our kingdom and ethnicity, probably Africa, the so-called Africa, could have over 1,000 countries. And I don't know whether they were afraid of those 1,000
No,
countries being a
no,
partition.
it's because they knew that if we were united, then would stay strong to our culture, to our spirituality, and cultures are those one of the things that they first destroyed because they recognize the strength in them, and also they don't like things that they don't understand, so they get rid of
Okay.
them first.
Now,
Okay, Sawindo, please come in.
before he comes in, just to add to what Sister Mara has said, it's part of the strategy to wipe us out and replace whatever it is with what they came with, right? So they name you, or they name the place that they find. For instance, Malawi was named Nyasaland. Nyasaland, somebody has asked what is water or what is the lake, and then they said that's Lake Nyasa, and then the country became Nyasaland. So they are very good at naming and also very good at enforcing their language on the people. It's part of erasing people's identity.
Okay, Sawindo, please come in. It's not an history class, but it's very interesting. And what you are learning from Swahili that then provokes this conversation. And I think it's very important what you're pointing out, because despite of only mastering what is in Swahili for the purpose of speaking, it's very important for sometimes also to go to the root of how this word come to be and what is the actual disparity. We cannot pretend that we will continue to call our country Kenya and we cannot question why it's Kenya. And I think it's high time Africans start questioning whatever names they are given. And I know there's a conversation going on in South Africa. People are questioning why do we call it South Africa? They want to call it Tanzania. Some people are objecting. But I think it's a conversation also we as Africans need to start having so that we start rejecting some of these names anyway. But Brother Window, please come in as we bring this to an end.
Hey, greetings, everybody.
Yeah, greetings.
Tell me, Brother Pigeon, when you are referring to people from a specific country, you said
Use
you
an M
add the M in front.
in front of the Swahili names that they have.
Yes. I could not hear well, but my question is there a specific reason why Kiswahili decided to put M in front and not K?
Yes, because M always in Swahili refers to the persons or people. And all names of people, or L, because when you talk of a citizen or a nationality, you're talking about a person. So in Swahili noun classes, all names of person belong to class Swahili noun class 1, which is M, and it is a M and W. In fact, that noun class, and I've been promising we'll be doing noun classes, but I think we'll come to it. There's a noun class M and W, but it was later on improved to be a noun class AWA. Now, all names of persons, animals, always belong to the noun class M. So if you're talking about a nationality, a citizen, that's a person. That's why you use an M if it is a singular person you're talking about, and you use a wa if they are plural of persons you're talking about. That's the instruction of Swahili noun class as it is in the Swahili language. So M will be the name everywhere because there's no way a person can be a K. The K class, which is a KV class, is a class that belongs to things, non-living things. But a noun class M, Y, belongs to living things. So Swahili has that distinction in terms of its description. It doesn't combine both non-living and living and call them the same thing. So that's why when you refer to human beings, insects, animals, and the rest, they belong to this noun class M, Y. But particularly when you're talking about human beings, they are in a noun class M, or they are singular, and Y. You'll have the name Mama. Of course, even if you have Baba, but it's a distinct name sometimes coming in Baba, but still that Baba, even though it doesn't start with the M, it's in noun class Awa. That's the way it is. So that's how the Swahili has it. So names of persons, when you're referring to a person, you categorize that into a noun class Awa. When you're referring to things, you categorize them. Like you see some countries where you are called KKK, China, Kenya. Those are countries, they're not persons. Those are countries. Canada, those are countries. But when you come to persons, you put an M. That's just the instruction of the noun class of Swahili. So the plural of all this M, the plural of all this M will be WA. So when you're talking about a group of people, you call them Wakenya. Wakenya now are Kenyan. Wakenya. There's a WA. Watanzania. Wamarekani. You use WA, but when one person, you call them Kenya. Okay.
Okay.
Sister Mara,
I thought they
your last
have
comment?
taken.
Yeah?
I
You thought they have taken?
thought they have taken the M in Muntu.
It's not only in Mutu, but actually also that's where we come from. Because it's even in the word Mutu, that's the M, the plural is Watu. Watu, which is a WA. So it's you might also link it to that.
Allow me to ask Brother Windhoek. In Herero, don't you have noun classes? Because when you use the
Ish.
adjectives, adverbs, they all have to follow the noun classes. Are you still there?
Yes, yes, we do, but mine was just a thought.
Okay, all right.
As Sister Mara come in, I'll try to do the description of what Brother Coco saying. So when you say Mkenya, that's a noun. Anaimba, you use the word a. Now that is where you get a hour. Anaimba. This a is the noun class hour we are talking about. So anaimba means is singing. So a Kenyan is singing. When you do the plural, you say wa Kenya, wanaimba. So you get a wa here. That's how you come to a noun class hour. Any word that will follow that will go to that instruction, noun class hour. If you say kikombe, there's a noun class KV, kikombe, you not say anaanguka, you say kimeanguka, which means the cup has fallen. If you go to the plural and say vikombe, vimeanguka. Now here you'll be taking your noun class using a K and a V here, even though other instructions are different, but we'll go to that. So you get the noun classes when you go to the adjective that describe the noun. That's where specifically you now stress on the instructions of the noun class. But as it is, description of persons, when we're referring to persons, those belong to a noun class hour. Because we in Swahili differentiate things and people, the living and living things. Sister Mara, your last comment before we close this?
I just wanted to go back a bit to the off topic that we were discussing just quickly. I want to leave the class with a thought about the duplicity of our inventors. about how they destroyed the stability of our governing systems while they retain the same system that that maintains longevity, i.e., the monarchy. So if you think about it, Brother Coco, you live in the UK, so you know they say the army is his royal army or something like that. The navy is his royal navy or something like that. So only the king can call the army to war. So and they oversee policy. So they have that longevity. And of course, at the front of the house, we have all these parties, but really at the back end, they still have the longevity of the monarchy. Well, for us, we are thrown into their so-called system of every 3 years, you see. Anyway, I just wanted to share that misery there, and I hope you all have a good night thinking. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you all, and may you all have a good night. It was a very interesting class. I know we've moved from the main thing, but I think there are conversations that have come from here. One is important for us to know is that the names of the countries, or a country is called a nchi, and a citizen is called raia, and a nationality is uraia. Now, names of countries start with either U, Uchina, we have that. Some countries remain the same, like Kenya, most of African countries, as it was noted by Brother Gleroy, because some of the bases we don't even understand how those names came to be. And because Swahili is a descriptive word, it sometimes fail to find a description for such countries. And some countries change totally. For example, England, Uingereza, totally. But also, we've learned that when it comes to nationality, the nationality, you just put an M before the name of the country in Swahili, and that becomes the person from that country. So you have Israeli, we have Kenya, Tanzania, and all that. The plural of that is wa. So you put our Tanzania, our Kenya, our Burundi, our Greeki, and all that. So that's what we've learned today. And thank you very much. So we look forward to more of the lessons for next week. But as I promised, I'm going to compile a list of all African countries. And basically, you can just guess. It will be the same thing, because there was no fundamental reasons on how we could describe those countries based on what white man did intentionally. So let's meet again next week. I'll continue sharing the lessons I share every day, but I'm giving it a break a bit. So, because I'm sharing a lot of words, like a paragraph. So I don't want to share them daily, because that then will cloud your mind to practice the proper pronunciation. So if I share one today, I skip one day and share another one, because now we are trying to increase the volume of words, and you might need enough time to try to read them and master the words. So with that, permit me to end this at this particular moment and wish you all a lovely evening. Asanteni sana, usiku mwema, tupatane wiki ijayo siku ya Jumanne. Mungu awabariki. May God bless you. We do say Mungu awabariki here. That is our Mungu, so it's not their Mungu, our God. Or may ancestors bless you.
Thank you.